Tep, and welcome once again to another edition of Community Cop, where truth and real talk occurs. My name is Noel Leader, one of the co-founder members of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Can. We're glad to be back in the saddle. I'm here with my three co-hosts. First of all, Julian Harper.
Welcome, welcome.
Second of all, Michael Grays, a.k.a. Big Mike.
Namaste.
And of course, we're blessed to have Attorney Maddox present.
Hotep.
And of course, Father Lucas is in the house.
Hotep.
So as you see, we have a full staff right now. And because we don't want to consume up too much time, because we want to give you the opportunity to call in approximately 30 minutes to share some thoughts or comments on the program. So we're going to hit the ground running. As is customary, we want to reflect on one of the darkest eras or periods in our history. That was the assassination of Malcolm X on February 21st in 1965. One of our greatest spokespersons, one of our true, genuine leaders, met his unfortunate demise at the Automobile Ballroom in Manhattan. And like I said, it's one of the saddest days of our history. Michael, why don't you talk a little bit about Malcolm and what he meant to you and what he meant to our people?
Well, certainly the great Malcolm X means so much. No one can say it better than Brother Ossie Davis when he characterized Malcolm as our shining black prince, and went on to say that Malcolm was our manhood. And certainly, if you understand the importance of Malcolm, you'll see what he meant, that he was truly our manhood. And obviously, those who know, it was the Newark Mars, it was brothers from the Newark Mars who had assassinated Malcolm. I'm not making any connection at all of that with Chicago, but however, the brothers who actually did it was from Newark, Mars number 25, from what I understand. And both sides have never fully healed. Those who supported the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as those who supported Malcolm. There was a lot of friction, and it has yet to truly be resolved in the truest sense. Malcolm's family obviously carries a bitter pill, and there are other brothers who still feel this day that Malcolm was a sellout and a hypocrite. And so I would just say that we lost a great warrior, a one who told the truth, one who showed the true black experience, and we lost a great one in Malcolm, and certainly to this very day, his words ring true, his message, what he meant to us rings so true, and we are forever in his debt for having blessed us with his presence.
What Mike said about Malcolm's meaning to the people, of course, it's very true. Personally, Malcolm was the one who told me I was out of my GD mind when he found out I was studying for the Catholic priesthood. And from that day on, we became very good friends.
I think it's important that we don't allow anyone else to tell our story. I think that we should continue to deliver the message that Malcolm delivered to us during that time, to our children as well. I find that so many of our youth are vaguely or just semi-familiar with Malcolm and his teaching. I think we should continuously educate and re-educate our children on his teaching and his beliefs. I think we need to understand, and our children need to understand, the importance of self-respect as African men and respecting our women as well. I think Malcolm brought so much to our community that we cannot forget the work that he's done, and cannot neglect or we shouldn't neglect delivering that message to our children as well.
Right. And one of the greatest books written about Malcolm is the autobiography of Malcolm X. Is a must-read for any member of our community, and you should make certain that your kids get a copy to look at it, because then you will know that the newly defined Malcolm X that white America likes to talk about, when they do speak about him, is not the Malcolm X that we knew. But, Michael, we thank you for reminding us about that unfortunate day, and one of the most greatest leaders that we've had since our travails in the wilderness of North America. All right, issue number one, in Maddox, we'll start with you. The police officer in the Bronx, what was his name, who shot the young man in his vehicle? Name escapes me right now. The grand jury failed to indict him. The name will come up, Noel Polanco. He was shot in his vehicle while the police officers pulled him over. The police officer stated that Polanco reached under his seat and he thought he went for a gun, which is a far stretch. I don't know how you engage in a traffic infraction of someone who's not involved in any criminality whatsoever. And just because, according to the officer, now the passenger in the seat said that Polanco had his hands on the steering wheel, but even if the officer's version is true, that he reached under his seat, how do you assume automatically that he's not going for his license, registration, insurance card, and he's going for a gun? The grand jury in Queens failed to indict or give a true bill, so the case is, for all intent and purposes, dropped. We know that the district attorneys all throughout the city have an incestuous relationship with the New York City Police Department. Their investigators are New York City police officers, so very frequently they're unsuccessful when they want to prosecute cops, although it is stated that the grand jury in New York can indict a ham sandwich. Explain to the audience, first of all, the officer's action and the killing the individual, simply saying, oh, I thought he was going for a gun. What could he possibly articulate to the grand jury to make them think that his assumption was reasonable?
Well, I think you expressed it very well when you said, he said, I thought I was going for a gun, because that's not what the basis is for shooting somebody.
Right, exactly.
The basis for shooting somebody is to believe that there's an imminent threat.
Right.
And so there was certainly somebody going to their seat for anything does not, on its own, demonstrate the issue of someone going for their gun and life being threatened. I think that clearly this is another situation. I think we shouldn't miss this. There are certain boroughs, and Queens is one of them, and Brooklyn is another one, where we can't miss the opportunity to not be very encouraged about holding a political convention and finding our own candidates to actually run in those boroughs. I mean, there are at least 3 boroughs right off the bat, Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx, where clearly in any kind of a contest, the black community having the largest voting bloc in this city, and especially in those counties, should not be in a situation where we are not planning now for the opportunity for us to have a district attorney in those counties. You got the Kings County now, and you got Queens, in which that should be an issue. So I think that 2013 is certainly a year in which we should be focused on what Malcolm said, the ballot or the bullet.
I couldn't help thinking that if this were in the Bronx, he would have been indicted, because they can't get these practically all-white juries in the Bronx. And that's one of the only counties in which police officers are indicted.
Julian, now who do you blame more, the district attorney, who we know far often than not, when it comes to indicting a police officer, put forward a lackluster prosecution to convict the grand jury, or do you fault the grand jury? Like, what did this cop say that made it reasonable for him to automatically assume, since the guy reached down, according to him, what the other passenger in the vehicle said he didn't actually do, but according to the police officer, just because he reached under his seat, that he automatically assumed that he was reaching for his gun, and as opposed to backing up, giving instruction, decided to discharge his weapon?
Well, I mean, when you say blame more, just based on your question, I'll say I blame the district attorney's office more, because they have to charge the jury. They explain the law to the jury. They present the evidence to the jury. They can sway the jury on how they view certain evidence and how they interpret the law. So that's why when you say more, I'll tell you that's why I blame the district attorney's office more. But when, that just, this particular case in itself shows you that if a police officer says, listen, I was in fear for my life, I thought he was reaching for a gun, I mean, just to say that you can say that under any circumstances.
Exactly.
If somebody's going in their pocket for a $1 bill for their license, he was getting his license and registration after I requested it. I shot him because I didn't know he was going for his license. I thought he was going for his gun. Is that enough for a grand jury or for a DA's office to present a case in a way where it will sway the grand jury to say that he had a reasonable cause to believe that his life was in danger? I think we should have a major problem with that. I think we should look at our district attorneys when we vote for them, because that's an elected position, and we have to hold them accountable. And we need to look works together. Noel talks about the incestuous relationship. The district attorney utilizes internal affairs police officers from the police department, New York City Police Department, to conduct the investigations. These people have relationships. They're concerned about their own lives. If they say to themselves, what if I was in that situation? I shot somebody. I want somebody to stand on my side and present the case in a way that is going to benefit me as well. So that's how they operate. As Noel stated, it's incestuous, and we really need to look at the entire way that these cases are investigated and prosecuted.
What's seminal in this case is that if you look at any district attorney's office in the 62 counties in New York State, the degree with respect to getting an indictment has to be at least in the high 90s. With respect to prosecuting a police officer, I think it tumbles down to single figures, a disgraceful number, single figures. So we're talking about less than 10%, which shows you that it's the relationship and that there needs to be a permanent special prosecutor in these types of cases, because there is not a district attorney in all 62 counties that's really going to really aggressively go after a dirty shooting by a police officer. So it only shows you that in the numbers. If you look at the numbers will reveal the truth.
I kind of suspect that the major question that should have been asked was not asked, namely, was there a reasonable fear? Was there reason for a fear? And if that wasn't, and I kind of suspect that wasn't presented to the grand jury at all. So that, as Julian said, it's really the district attorney. If the district attorney doesn't want an indictment, he or she will not get it. If you want one, he or she will get it.
Well, by the way, it's Brown, District Attorney Brown.
Right.
So you know, and
Yeah.
he's not the fairest guy in the world. He was a part of what took Automatics license, District Attorney Brown.
Well, I would love to ask Maddox a question, and I'm not trying to step
No,
on
no,
the
no,
commissioner's
no,
vote.
we all-
Is that a defined, is there a defined definition for reasonable grounds to believe when you talk about a police officer believing that his life is in jeopardy, or he has reasonable grounds to be in fear of his life under those circumstances?
Well, I think one, you're absolutely correct. It's an objective standard. But I think what Father Luke and everyone else has been saying on the panel is, given the fact it is an objective standard, the fact that somebody is simply going down and bending down is not indication that he's going to come up with a gun. And you at least ought to let him come up with the gun before you start banging him.
Exactly. But the mere fact that there wasn't an indictment, I mean, the community should be outraged. Michael, we take issue, of course, with the attorneys that was representing the family, Rubenstein and Michael Harding, because we've seen these characters before and representing similar clients. When we were in the district attorney's office talking about the shooting of Omar Edwards, one of the DAs, and we're talking about
The lead
Morgenthau.
DA.
Why don't you tell him what he asked us as it relates to our pressing for a true bill against an officer? We wanted him to get indicted so there could be a criminal trial.
Well, the fact of the matter is we were grilling at some point aggressively the Robert Morgenthau's office, and Robert Morgenthau was present.
That's right.
And he was talking about there was just two good guys who were face to face, and we said face to face. He said face to face, meaning both officers, Omar Edwards as well as Dutton, had their guns trained on each other. And his claim is that, unfortunately, Dutton was first and fired his weapon, and it was he was able to bring police officer Omar Edwards down. Police officer Omar Edwards is the black cop. So we challenged him and said, if that's the case, then how did the entrance wound end up in Omar Edwards' back?
Center back.
And center back, upper back, and lower back, and one in the forearm. He was hit 3 times. And when we asked him that question, he said, come on, guys. And we said, no. He said, well, come on. And we said, no, we want an answer. At that point, he said, obviously, you haven't spoke to Andy and Michael, meaning Rubenstein and Michael Hardy. That was his response to us. In other words, we not playing ball with Reverend Sharpton. That's what the district attorney said to us in a meeting, an official meeting about the death of a black police officer, Omar Edwards.
And he said, what did he say again? So they hear it again? Haven't y'all spoke to?
He said it's obvious. He said it's obviously apparent you haven't spoke to Andy and Michael, meaning Rubenstein and Michael Hardy.
Right.
This is what the district attorney said to us because we wasn't playing ball with Reverend Sharpton because they really just want the lawsuit. They don't really try.
Civil
They
lawsuit.
fake moves like they really want the police officer indicted. They don't really want the police officer indicted. The police department, the mayor, the commission, the police commissioner, very comfortable having Rubenstein and them representing clients. They wouldn't be as comfortable if it was automatics.
And you know, they were under so much pressure when we were in that meeting that they wanted to postpone the meeting and they wanted to set it up again for a later date because they couldn't answer the questions that we had for them. I mean, we went through this case tooth and nail with a fine-tooth comb, and they did not have the answers for us. They didn't expect us to come at them so strong that they wanted to reschedule the meeting until they had another attorney present who they felt had some more answers. But obviously, they knew that we were prepared for that, and they didn't even reschedule the meeting.
And when they asked us, did you speak to Sandy and Michael, it's because the question that we were asking, and one of the questions was, there's a camera, there's an NYPD camera, did they look at the film? And they couldn't even answer that question.
Right.
And this is after they didn't get an indictment. So how can you make a presentation to the grand jury and you didn't even look at the film?
Right.
When we asked you, did you look at the camera? There's a camera across the street. Did you get a chance to get a copy of it? There's a camera in front of the store right where it happened. Did you look at that? And they looked at each other like a big question mark. And then they was like, yo, why are you asking these questions? Haven't y'all spoken? Didn't y'all speak to Sandy and Michael? Like,
Right,
yo,
probably
fix it.
Sandy
Like,
and I said Andy, but
Right.
Sandy
like
and
the
Michael.
fix is
Sandy.
in on this. Why y'all still pressing this? That's
Right.
what the implication was.
Well, you know, I think it sums up this way. New York does not want an adversarial relationship in any criminal matter. Anybody who's going to be adverse to the state is going to be immediately bumped off. And the problem is, we got to understand as a community that the right of representation does not belong to the attorney. It belongs to the people. And if the people are going to continue to allow this to happen, this is what we're going to get. I mean, this is what we're talking about. You know, and I say this all the time. You know, people think that I have been disbarred, and I have not been. I mean, it's just simple as that. You can call the Attorney General's office tomorrow, and they'll tell you that, or they should tell you that. If they don't tell you that, I'll go down there with you to deal with them. I've never been disbarred. But the problem is New York does not allow for an adversarial relationship. And so when you see attorneys like Michael Hardy and Sandy Rubenstein and people like that, you know, they're going to make the big dollars because they accommodate the system. And it hurts all of us when the system is not adversarial, when there's nobody standing there to oppose the system. You will never get justice.
Exactly. So their job is to work on a civil case where there's some financial compensation, but that's not justice, although the family deserved it. Issue number 2, Christopher Dorner, the Los Angeles Police Department officer who was terminated as a result of filing a complaint of a police abuse against a fellow officer, was what we deem to be, and this is 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Cares speaking, was murdered by police officers. Now, his actions, of course, was egregious, and we can't condone the murder of innocent people that he killed. But I think it's worse, and Julian, I'll start off with you, to have an agency engage in a murder. They had him surrounded. He was in a log cabin, and you hear over the police radios when they saying, yo, we're going to go according to plan, get the burners, burn his house down. We writing a letter to the Department of Justice calling for an investigation because this is, as far as we're concerned, a police murder. And the intentions were clear when police shot into 2 random vehicles without justification. They just said they thought it was his van, they just shot in. Julian, give some of your feelings, or what is your assessment of the police actions as it relates to having them surrounded, isolating containers out the window, police policy and practice out the window, giving an individual opportunity to get a communication, get them to come out non-violently. What is some of your assessment?
Well, first of all, last week when we were discussing it, I had received some misinformation that he had already been killed, and I said that he had met his untimely demise, and that was wrong. But at some point, it did happen, so maybe it was prophetic. Who knows? You know, we just thought it was going to happen.
We sort of predicted it.
You know, we talked about this prior to it. You know, the police department's actions initially was one to seek and destroy. As Noel mentioned, there were innocent people who were riding along in a vehicle that was similar, but didn't fit the exact description. It wasn't the exact color, it wasn't the exact make nor model, but they immediately fired into that vehicle, injuring a 71-year-old woman and a woman I believe to be 47 years old, Hispanics. They didn't take time to see who was in the car. They didn't identify themselves. Police don't move. None of those things that should have been done. They didn't call other cars to respond for a tactical response. So you know that what was in their mind was to seek, destroy, and to kill this man. Whether they wanted him to initially have an opportunity to tell his story, which I think was needed, that his story should have been told on every level. Are we condoning what he did? No, not at all. Should he have been prosecuted for the murders that he's done? Absolutely. But let's use the law the way it was designed to give him his day in court and allow him to tell his story and let the public ensure that he's prosecuted. Let the jury of his peers make sure that he's prosecuted and convicted. We really, when we start talking, because there's two areas to look at. You can talk about his initial complaint with the LAPD, which numerous people have problems with, the way that was handled. And then you can talk about the murder, so where the Sheriff's Department was responsible. I think that we have to have the Justice Department look into this. We need a fair and an unbiased response and view of this entire case. And there are multitudes of people that are out there that are on the side of the officer, and they're not immediately going to the side of the LAPD, even though that's the way the media wants to push it.
Well, Christopher Dorner went to school with a white person who he considered a friend in his last days, a lifelong friend who went to school with him in Utah, and he said that Christopher Dorner was a truth teller. He said he was actually a prisoner of truth, that he had principles. And based on what he was saying, and no man gives his life for a lie and just going to intentionally embrace, as the scriptures say, fire into his own bosom. So I think that he had a rationale, he had principles that he was guided by, and obviously in that context, he saw another police officer involved in criminality by beating someone disabled right there in plain sight. And when he reported that, obviously it enraged those on his level as well as superior officers, and they in turn fired him. They claim now they're going to continue that investigation to reopen that case. I think it's just a lot of fluff, just throw people off. But ultimately, he gave his life for a principle. And while I don't condone the daughter, the family member of a police officer that was killed, I think that the action he took with respect to those who were trying to take his life, obviously one understands. When those police officers that approached him, he defended himself, they defended themselves, and it went the way it went. I think that ultimately he stood on principles. Black people have said for the longest they have been the recipient of violence by LAPD, which is maybe second only to NYPD. And obviously when you think of Philly, Chicago, and other major, urban police forces, they have their own level of brutality, and people have written books and there are movies made about the violence of LAPD, and we saw Rodney King, that kind of thing. So when you put that all in context, Officer Dorner had a position. He had a position with respect to and mentioned the president, the president's wife. All of these things were in his manifesto, which I think should be read by everyone, and want to give kudos to our Field Marshal General Eric Josie for his expertise, who was an ESU officer here in NYPD. So we lean on his on-site intel to know these kind of things and how it should be handled. So I would just say that when you heard the communications and heard them saying wall number 2 is on fire, wall number 3 is already engaged in fire, and things like that, they were telling you that they were killing him, that he wasn't going to come out of this alive. So the Department of Justice should look into this because they killed that man.
Well, the number one problem in this case and in virtually every case that you find in the criminal justice system is lack of representation. I mean, that's where it really starts. And that's where it started here, lack of representation. I think that we as a community got to really focus on that because it's happening every day. And it's going to continue to happen until people are justly represented. And, even sometimes when a person may be wrongfully convicted, if the person believes that they've been adequately represented, they can take it to the point of moving on to the appeals process and hoping that something will be corrected there. The second point, and I think that we talked about this, is that every person is presumed innocent. And that's the problem that you have here, is because Christopher Dorner is presumed innocent. He was not given his day in court. And when the police department responds, it responds differently depending upon the color of your skin. Now, if it's dealing with a white person who's armed to the teeth and have done everything in the world, it's a matter of last resort before they take your life.
Right.
When you deal with black people, it's a matter of first strike.
That's right.
And so that's the difference, and that's the reason why we have a right to complain, because there's a double standard here. And when you're dealing with a situation where somebody even been accused of atrocious crimes, nonetheless the presumption of innocence applies and continues to apply until the last moment. When it comes to whites, it does not apply at all when it comes to blacks.
The notion of representation, which Elton brings out, is very clear, because one would want to know what was the trial that caused him to be dismissed. When he accused, and the officer he accused was actually his field supervisor, who he accused of this. And he just railroaded him right out. And everybody knows that at that time, the so-called Justice Department had LAPD under its wings, and so one would have immediately become suspicious of his dismissal. As all of us agree, we cannot justify his murder, but then we cannot justify police murder too. They both are wrong. And it brings back, you remember back there during slavery time, when a slave tried to escape, they were literally roasted on a pit with a lot of folks looking on and applauding. They were just like they would roast a pig on a pit. They did it. And it hasn't changed. You remember the Move situation, where a mayor allowed the police to bomb a building, didn't care how many got killed. The same thing with the Symbionese Liberation Army. The same thing. Drop a bomb. They were only blacks. Drop a bomb. Whoever gets killed gets killed. That's murder.
Absolutely.
And, you know, when you look at this case from the beginning, you know, it appears, I mean, he was a naval officer, he was a police officer. You know, they featured him during some kind of documentary, so they were watching him, thinking that he was this great cadet or recruit. And now, after him becoming a full-fledged member of the department, and he sees what was going on, it appeared to me that he became disillusioned. Like, he believed in a system that he had respect for. You know, he wanted to stand up for what was right. And then when he saw the lack of integrity within that department, he became disillusioned. And then when he went to fight his battle, saying, listen, this was inappropriate what I saw occur, and even the system turned on him, and he became even more disillusioned. And then when he went to appeal it, where he said, well, listen, I'm going to take it to the next step and find some righteousness within this system. And then he was still stepped upon. I mean, his psyche had to be so destroyed when you have someone that really believes in the system that they've been fighting for and fighting with their entire life and their career. They succeeded. He became a captain or lieutenant, whatever his rank was in the Navy. And then he became a police officer. And then after all of the righteousness that he believed in and he tried to stand up for, they actually just dismissed him. And I'm not talking about just dismissing him from his job, dismissing him from a trial, a fair trial, and from everything that he believed in that was right. So, I mean, to believe that he was insane before this happened, after they put him through all of that, I think we have to question how the police department is presenting him.
Right, and we know, those of us in the NYPD know the same thing happens here. Some of our members have experienced similar circumstances in terms of addressing racism that exists and police brutality that exists within law enforcement. Real quick, on the local level, Dolphal Carrion, the Bronxborough president, has announced his decision to run as an independent in the upcoming mayoral race. Father Lucas.
Well, that's going to be very interesting, because he was a Republican, and now he has decided fire on both houses. He'd rather run as independent because he thinks folks must be sick and tired of Democrats and Republicans and may at this time go for an independent. It's an interesting approach.
Anybody else?
Well, I think that, you know, what is important in all of this, and you keep looking at everybody else doing something, and we're virtually not doing anything. And you have to wonder, why would the largest voting bloc in this city remain silent? And also, the group with the most grievances against society remain silent. I mean, it's some insanity there.
You know, we really got to start paying attention to this political game, and that's what it actually is. It's a game. You know, they're trying to utilize the needs of the people, not to help the people in their need, but to use that to benefit them so they can gather votes. So they'll jump from Republican to Independent to Democrat, which Bloomberg did, multiple politicians have done. But they're not doing anything to address the issues of the community and their constituents. Those are the things we really need to look at, as opposed to their political affiliation.
Right, and real quick, before we go to our phone calls, I was involved in a discussion over the weekend about Emmett Till. Evidently, one of these rap artists is Julian, what's his name?
Oh, man.
Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne, right.
He made some derogatory comment as it relates to the beating of Emmett Till, comparing it to something that's totally ludicrous. Michael, you took issue with some of the comments that was made as it relates to the white men who were...
Well, what happened was Lil Wayne made a comment saying that he would beat up a woman's vagina the way Emmett Till was beaten by white men, and after that, a person, Skip Dillard, who's I think executive director of WBLS and Inner City Broadcasting, had made the comment that while it was some white individuals who killed Emmett Till, and the white community put up with them, immediately after the case, they ran them out of Money, Mississippi. And just wanted to say that that is totally inaccurate. So inaccurate that during the time of Money, Mississippi and the Emmett Till case, every candy store had a jar collecting money. Every lawyer within 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles of Money, Mississippi volunteered pro bono their services to defend the white men who killed Emmett Till. So everybody was involved. Every elected official came to that trial, including the U.S. Senator, came and sat there in a trial to let the jury know that this is our guy and what he did was okay. So I'm just here to say to Skip Dillard, do not give misinformation to our people like that, thinking that somehow the white community didn't accept the death and murder of Emmett Till. They wholeheartedly accepted the murder of Emmett Till and supported the killers all the way through. There was no such thing as running out white folks who killed Emmett Till. That's not true. As a matter of fact, those guys were local heroes and personalities in their own right after killing Emmett Till.
And it was a known fact. Everybody knew they were guilty.
Right.
He said, as a matter of fact, he made $5,000, $6,000 back there in the 50s by giving an article within 6 months after Emmett Till was in the ground. He gave a news article to somebody and let them know he killed Emmett Till. So for Skip Dillard to say something so nonsensical like that, you might be a wig or executive director of BLS, but get your facts right. Stop feeding black people misinformation to be an apologist for white folks.
And real quick before I promise we're going to our phones. Father, you wanted to mention about Hugo Chavez returning back home from Cuba to Venezuela, successful surgery.
Yeah, I was happy. I don't know, obviously, the real condition of his health, but the mere fact that he came back home, was, for me, something to applaud.
Right.
And at the same time, around the same period, another thing to applaud was Fidel was able to give a little speech.
Right.
And again, two of my heroes.
Okay. All right, now it's time to open up our phone lines. Callers, welcome to Community Cop. We just ask that you turn your radio down when you hear us speak and let us know where you're from. First caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? All right, you violating the rule. Turn your TV down. Where you calling from, caller?
How you doing?
Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Harlem.
Okay, quick question.
Yeah, I know you guys can't condone the wrong that officer or former officer committed, but my problem is I'm not attempting to condone it. I think murder and unjust conduct on any behalf is actually wrong. But I can actually understand why he did it. I called last week when it was just Father Lucas and Brother Harper there. He's saying, y'all can't expect with the law enforcement communities, no matter where in this country, Y'all doing us dirty, and then y'all expect us to sympathize with what's happening to y'all. I was hoping that he was able to make his and take care of some of the nonsense here in New York City, like certain inspectors, certain police commissioners, certain DAs, and everybody else. So I can't tell you guys what to do and how to feel. You guys shouldn't expect us in this minority community to feel any sympathy when a law enforcement officer or its relatives are killed, because of the simple fact they're killing us and they're laughing and shaming us. And for the record, Mega Evans was also Mike Gray. The governor showed up to the trial of the individual that shot and killed him. It goes to show you they're diabolical, they're the miscreant and mongrels.
Right.
Y'all don't seem to understand.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your
on
call.
y'all. Thank you.
All right,
Yes,
thank you for
sir.
your call. Thank you for your call, caller.
Love the passion.
All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? Next caller, you're on the air. Where you calling from?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm calling from Harlem.
Okay, quick question or comment.
I watched the Dorner situation go down after I watched your program last week. And unfortunately, I happened to be on the station where Al Sharpton's on. And I watched him look like the watermelon man trying to convince this man to give himself up. And we all know that this man was not going to get a chance to tell his story, even if they had taken him alive. By the time he got to L.A., he would have been dead. Perhaps if the gentleman had somebody in the caliber of Alton Maddox representing him, he'd still be alive today. Gentlemen, keep up the good work, and welcome back, Michael Graves. We missed you. We missed that fire, and we missed that passion. Nope, you can't take off any more days, brother. Have a good night.
We missed obviously Noah Elite also.
Right. Everybody has their day in court, and it was clear that this was a murder. And you should also, those looking at the program, contact the Justice Department and ask for an investigation, because this was a police murder before the public. But next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Yes, hello. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking my call. This is Omar calling from the village of Harlem. And you know, it's sad when we hear part of the family congratulate someone when someone is killed. I think that is not the correct attitude. I mean, you have brothers and sisters like yourself that serve the community and that are in law enforcement doing positive work. So because you have one guy that steps out of line, I don't think you can condemn everyone for that. That being said, I want to mention that Dr. Ben is in a senior citizens complex up in Co-op City, and he wants people to come visit him. So if you can just contact the Co-op City facility up there, the nursing facility, he'd be happy to receive everybody. It's a brother who put a whole lot of work into our community, and you know, he's up in age, he's a senior, we love him. So Dr. Ben, a shout out to you. And I want to ask Father Lucas this, if I can, because he works with Rikers Island prisoners. What about a lot of these prisoners like H. Rap Brown, and you have brothers who have been in jail, who have been in the movement. Some of them are in their 70s now, and they come up to the board to be pardoned, and sometimes 8, 9, 10 times they are refused their pardon. What can we do here to try to speed up that process, make sure a lot of these brothers can die in peace with their families?
All right, thank you for your call.
Black Panthers been in the movement.
All right, we got a brother. We got a brother.
Half a century almost, and I want to know if you can put any input into that.
Okay,
I love
brother.
you, gentlemen. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Father.
If we had a president that had a spine, I think one of the things is, since they treat these political prisoners worse than murderers, is to ask the president for some pardons.
All right.
I doubt he'll do it, but it's worth a try.
Right.
Well, I think right now, if you look at the President of the United States and you look at the governor of the state of New York, neither one of them have actually ever given anybody a pardon. I mean, so their record is unblemished in the sense that they don't see any injustice that's going on around this state and around this country.
All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, where you calling from, caller?
I'm calling from the Lower East Side. My name's Lamont.
Okay, quick question or comment?
Can you hear me?
Yes, talk to the phone. Quick question or comment? All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Greetings.
Where you calling
I'm
from?
not sure if I'm on or not.
Where
Hello?
you're on the air. Where you calling from, caller?
I'm calling from Harlem, yes. I tuned in late. It was 5:19. I've forgotten about it, but I'm taping it. I appreciate what you're doing, and I would love to take the Justice Department number and call them. But Eric Holder is an empty suit. Nothing is going to happen. He's too sad. He's a sad, you know what? Eric Holder's not going to do one thing about this, brother, and we all know it. I'm outraged that they kill that man like that. I call him my son, my Nat Turner. Give thanks. Good day.
All right, thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
the sister's right because Eric Holder's from Queens, and he was fully aware of what happened to Sean Bell. If he didn't come on Sean Bell, he's certainly not going to come in on Christopher Dorner.
And you know, one thing I want to say about this, because there are remedies that we do have as a people. And she's right that Eric Holder acting on his own is not going to do anything. But we right here in New York play a very critical role in national politics. And I'm telling you, we have the opportunity now to all withdraw from the Democratic Party by March 10th, which is Harriet Tubman's Day, and stay there until somebody talks to us. And I'm going to tell you, if black people start withdrawing from the Democratic Party and wait until somebody says something to us, then we're going to acquire some leverage. We're going to acquire the ability to negotiate. And for those who think they need to get back to the plantation by September in order to vote for these primaries, they got time to do that too, because the election law, allows you to come out, call time out, and then if you think you need to be back in there by September, it gives you enough time to run back in there and vote for the Democrats that you think are necessary for your own survival. But I think it's very critical that we must do something, and withdrawing from the Democratic Party right now, I'm telling you, we'll get a response.
I think the sister is right, too, that I don't believe that Eric Holder is going to do anything. But at the same time, I want to give him an opportunity to prove me right. And if enough people get on the wagon and begin bombarding the Department of Injustice, who knows? He may have to, in spite of what he really is.
And I think we still have to put him on notice anyway.
Right.
We are aware, and we know what's going on, and we know that he has a responsibility and a duty to do something about it. Whether he's going to do it or not, we have to put it in his face.
Exactly.
And when Automatic talks about us leaving the Democratic Party, he's not implying that we should just not vote at all. We need an independent, black-led political party in the city, in this state, and in this country.
Right.
Next caller, welcome to Community Cop, and we're going to talk more about that in future programs. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Brooklyn.
Okay, Brooklyn. Quick question or comment?
Well, brother, I want to thank you. I've been watching you brothers now for the past year before I go to work at night. I just want to congratulate you brothers for the excellent work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I want to make a quick comment. In response to what Brother Harper had said about Christopher Dorner looking for the righteous path, you can't find a righteous path in a world of white wickedness. That's number one. Number two, if you look at the history of our black brothers, when it goes from Colin Ferguson to Omar Thornton to this brother Chris Dorner, it all comes down to one thing. They've all been infected by the ills of white supremacy.
That's right.
That's all I got to say, brother.
That's right. That's right.
And brother, I'm in agreement with you. That's why I said he became disillusioned. Because when people start believing in this fallacy that this is a righteous system and it's going to do what's right, when they become disillusioned, they see the reality. Right. And that's what caused his response.
That's right. And the sons and daughters and great-grandkids of our former slave masters are no better than their forefathers, because white supremacy is still the order of day in the United States of America. But next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Calling from Harlem?
Okay, quick question or comment?
Yes, I just wanted to speak on... Hello?
Brother, we listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, where you calling from, caller?
Hello?
Where you calling from? All right, next caller.
We might have a problem in the studio because apparently they can't hear us and we can hear them.
Right. We might be having a problem. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
What's up, brothers? How you doing? Eric Josie 100 Black.
East.
East.
You calling from
Listen,
Florida?
you brothers, I want to say this real quick, man. I love you, brothers, and I'm so proud to be part of this organization. Father Lucas, Brother Automatics, man, I love you guys. Julian Harper looking real sharp with them glasses, look real distinguished. I just want to say this real quick. I want to ask Brother Automatics, what are your thoughts about absolute immunity and how it plays a role in regards to police misconduct and prosecutorial misconduct in regards to absolute immunity for these people? Because I believe it plays a significant role, and that's why they do what they do, and there's absolutely no repercussions. So I'm going to hang up and listen.
All right, E-Smooth.
Thank you. Well, you know, it's very interesting because New York has what is called transactional immunity, which is basically absolute immunity. And that's why you have to be very aware of what goes on in the grand jury. Because a lot of times the district attorney doesn't indict anybody because the district attorney has given transactional immunity to the suspects. And this is happening quite often, and these are things that we don't know about. The grant of transactional immunity, which means that regardless of what the person's culpability may have been, they're going to automatically grant transactional immunity through the police department and the district attorney's office. And so it's a very relevant question. It's one that we don't really entertain that often, but it's one that clearly exists in virtually every case.
And that's why, once again, one of the greatest strategies that was conducted by the white supremacists in the state was to take automatics out of the courtroom, because this question is not even raised by Michael Harding or
No, absolutely not.
Sandy Weinstein,
No.
Wilstein.
Right.
There's no money in raising them.
Exactly.
And by the way, back to that other question, I mean, Automatics was humble about it, but Automatics used his own money and went down to Georgia to see Rat Brown, Emil Abdul El Amin.
Right.
He went down there and watched El Amin be railroaded, and I know he wished that he could practice because he certainly needed a defense because he was railroaded in Georgia.
Well, you know, and I just want to say something about that because that was during the time that I was writing for the Amsterdam News, and I wanted to make sure that our people here got the best information they could by somebody who had really committed his life to our struggle. And so I would go down every week to Atlanta and attend the trial and then come back and then write in the Amsterdam News about it. Because what is happening here, and this goes back to what Malcolm X said, land is the base of all revolutions. And what happened really in Fulton County, Georgia, is that El Alamein started having an effect on land use. And he began to assemble his group in a neighborhood that white people really sought and wanted it. And as a result of that, he was framed by these sheriff departments, supposedly coming out executing a bogus arrest warrant from a matter in Cobb County, which is exactly the same county that Dr. Khalid Muhammad is from, and or was executed in. And so, you know, I think that we as a people, we got to really open up our minds, you know, because there are so many things that these folks are playing on us that is absolutely mind-blowing. And so you can really connect Khalid Muhammad to Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin.
I just want to say congratulations on raising the land question, because it's the first in a long time I've heard anybody speak about the land, which was at the heart of this thing.
Absolutely.
All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hello?
Where you calling from, caller?
Calling from Manhattan.
Quick question or comment?
I'd like to compare black policemen joining the police force to people joining the army, that it's an economic war. People join the military because it's the only employer or the employer of last resort. Do you think black policemen, if you were to ask them before they become cops, what's your opinion of the New York City Police Department and how they treat blacks, what do you think their answer would be, and why would you join it? I think cops join it, black men join because it's the only employer or employer of last resort. It's an economic thing, and they will always act when they treat us in favor of their paycheck. I'd like an answer from the panel.
All right, thank you for your call.
Let me give you a simple, quick answer. What's paramount we need to understand is that if and based on your inference, if you set up a situation where there were no black police officers, no black court officers, no black correction officers, no blacks in FBI or any law enforcement or intelligence gathering, you're setting up a situation similar to what we had in South Africa during the apartheid system, where there are no means of law enforcement, no intelligence gathering. You have no one that can make a position. You have no lawyers. You have no representation. You have nothing. You're setting up a system. If you're not in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, none of that stuff, then you're leaving all the guns, all the enforcement to white folks, and you don't want to be in that predicament.
Right. Thank God for black police officers, as long as you thinking black. Next caller.
Yes,
Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Where you calling from?
All right, I'm calling from East Village. This is Zenla Bay. How you doing?
All right. Quick question or comment, brother.
Okay, your producer needs to credit Automatics being on the show. His name is not printed or displayed on your show. That's one key thing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
The second thing is, we all see, based on what he's talking about, the violations, the criminality of the police force, the criminal justice system against black men, particularly black men and women, throughout the ages of Emmett Till till now, even prior to Emmett Till. So why can't Automatics and a couple of lawyers, including myself, and y'all get together and assert our sovereignty as black men who are not part of United States citizenship in the first place, based on the Treaty of Peace and Friendship back in 1886, I believe, by the Moroccan king, Mohammed III, who actually recognized the United States as the United States back then. Why can't we just go to the Supreme Court and assert black men, black women are right as sovereigns in occupied territory?
Brother, we got your point. Max, you want to answer that? Thank you for your call.
Well, one of the things happened in his question is that the Moroccans and the United States, that happened at least a century earlier. So, it was not in the 1800s. It was certainly in the 1700s that did occur, and that was the first treaty between the United States and any foreign nation. I think the second thing is that as far as sovereignty is concerned, it's not a question of lawyers being willing to raise the issue before the Supreme Court or before the World Court. I think the issue is having a clientele that is urging that. So we don't want to put the cart before the horse. And so it's rather than say that we need lawyers, but lawyers can't move until they're clients. And so once you create that body of black men, then certainly that becomes a justiciable issue.
And one of the things you need to support is Automatics. He's been talking about a black political party, independent black political party. He's been talking about a black political convention.
Right.
Be a part of that. All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Calling from Harlem.
Okay, quick question or comment as we wind down.
Which one of you brothers think that you can go to Mexico and pat down the Mexican like the Mexican illegal alien and pat it down Forrest Whitaker? That's all I'm going to say, and I'm hanging up.
All right. Thank you for your call and your comment. Next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? You're on the air.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, where you calling from, caller?
Harlem.
Oh, you too? Yeah.
All right, next caller. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? We have a call on the air?
Hi, I'm Channel 44. I'm watching you.
Caller, where you calling from?
Hello, this is Sheila.
All right, how you doing, Queen Sheila?
From the Bronx. You're on Fios live on Channel 44.
All right, excellent. In the Bronx, live.
Y'all look real good.
Thank you. Yeah, we waiting for your return.
I didn't know that you were on Channel 44 on Fios. I was flipping through the channels because I know that we all on Channel 70 and you're coming live.
All right, excellent. That's good news.
We'll be glad your spirit found our spirit.
That's right, no doubt.
God bless you all. You're looking good. I missed most of the show, but I just
We miss you
to
too.
know that you're coming live and clear. Hope to see you soon. I've been in the hospital again since you saw me, but God's working on it, and I know He's the winner in the finishing line.
All right, thank you for that testimony.
Okay, then talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for calling. All right, next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? Next caller, you on the air. Where you calling from? Do we have a caller on?
No, we have no more callers.
Oh, we know what callers are. We're winding down. All right, Julian, Harper, final comments.
Listen, you know, we talk about the politics of this community. We talk about the politics in this nation. And we really talk about, and we need to talk about the politics within our black community. You know, we talk about black nationalism. I think that's very important. I think we have to learn to work within our own community and develop what we need to make sure that things go forward for us. Dad, I love you. I'm sorry, Mike. Love you, Bob.
Pray for a full recovery for Lambe Brad. Reinstate the attorney at war, Alton Maddox.
That's right.
Well, I think that tomorrow night in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Christian Center, there will certainly be a plea of support for Tawana Brawley. As many people know, Stephen Pagonis now, after 25 years, has been given the right to pick her pocket, and that has to be resisted. We'll do that tomorrow night. And on Saturday, we'll be at the Cotton Club, because everything in terms of political timetable for 2013 will start in February, and we need to be a part of the process since we're the largest voting bloc in this city.
On Thursday evening of this week at Bethany Baptist Church in Harlem, there's going to be a meeting concerning the attempt to recolonize Africa. It's going to be sponsored by the December 12th movement, and the name just slipped me, the producer of the New African magazine.
All right, on behalf of Community Cop, we'd like to thank all our engineers, Nat Wood, Sheila Berry, Veronica Kent, Little More, I love you. See you next Tuesday, 5 o'clock. Julie looked real good with that new look. I love it. Y'all did an excellent job next week. See you next Tuesday, Community Cop, 5 o'clock. Tell a friend, tell a foe. Peace.